the questioning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and let me thank our ranking member, Chakowski, for holding today's hearing, and I want to thank our witnesses for being here to testify on these bills today. Before I get to my questions, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the irony in this subcommittee holding a hearing on the need for regulatory certainty for autonomous vehicles, almost all of which will be electric. And then the fact that tomorrow our full committee plans to mark up multiple bills that will reverse clear federal rules on vehicle emissions in an attempt to thwart investments the auto industry and Congress have made in electrification. As the young people say, just saying. Last month, unfortunately, an automated vehicle driving system activated, a vehicle with an automated driving system activated ran into the sidewalk in my district, killing one of my constituents and seriously injuring another. And while I recognize the clear differences between highly automated, fully autonomous vehicles and the advanced driver assistance systems present in this incident, it would be unfortunate if this committee did not recognize the present dangers of automated technology being marketed and used in vehicles today. So we cannot look so far into the future that we fail to protect our constituents today, just saying. I'm also like Ranking Member Pallone, concerned that broad preemption of state and local laws could limit the ability of cities like New York to enforce their local traffic laws, including the AVs are allowed to operate. Mr. Bozzella, you state in your testimony that states should continue to have jurisdiction over operation of vehicles on public roads, including enforcement of traffic laws. Could you elaborate on that position, and how does broad preemption of state and local laws impact and potentially limit safety?
Yes, well, thank you very much for the question. I very much appreciate it. The key here is, to my mind, is making sure that we recognize the traditional roles that state and local governments have. And I have a background in local government, having worked for the mayor of the city of New York back in my day, so I appreciate where you come from. It's really important that we do that, but it's also important that we recognize the federal role with regard to design, construction, and performance of vehicles. And so that's what we're looking for. AVs are going to follow local traffic laws. AVs currently follow local traffic laws where they are already operating, and that will be true in the future as well.
Very well. Dr. Koopman, would broad preemption prevent cities from prohibiting AVs in certain areas like school zones or traffic laws requiring full stops at stop signs or safe lane changes?
I think federal preemption could be a problem. In New York City, for example, right now is the only place in the country that requires companies doing testing to follow the industry standard testing safety standard, J3018. It's the only place in the country that does that. And if there's federal preemption, you'd get that taken away from you.
Okay, so state and local governments have a duty to protect the public from vehicle crashes, a role that becomes even more important in the absence of strong federal action and leadership. And since NHTSA's inception, the relationship between federal, state, and local law have been clear. Once a federal safety standard is in effect, state and local governments cannot enact or enforce different safety standards. I'm concerned with any proposal that creates a regulatory black hole where the federal government could fail to prescribe safety standards and state and local governments would be prohibited from filling that void and enforcing local traffic laws. There's a consortium of 7 organizations representing the nation's state and local elected and appointed officials. They've written a letter calling on Congress to preserve state and local authority to promote traffic safety, and I ask for unanimous consent that this letter be entered into the record. My final question, as co-chair of the Smart Cities Caucus and the former chair of the Cybersecurity Subcommittee at the Committee on Homeland Security, I'm especially conscious of the threats posed by increasingly digitized and connected technologies. Dr. Koopman, would you consider an autonomous vehicle that does not adhere to adequate cybersecurity practices an unreasonable risk to roadway safety?
I think it's really important that the vehicles, all vehicles conform to the industry standard for cybersecurity. This is not just an AV problem, it's an any vehicle with a camera problem. And so EVs get swept into that as well. Yes, they should conform.
Very well. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
I thank you, gentlelady, and I recognize myself for